want to drag this out. Dr. Julie Gunther.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for the invitation to speak today. I took the liberty to do something different, and I hope it works. And if it doesn't, well, I'll go drink, and you'll forget about it. I was asked to speak, or volunteered to speak, about raising the bar in DPC Entrepreneurship. I'm going to steal some of Ryan's time, too, which is awesome. I'm known among some probably as mom, or the mother of the movement. If you say the godmother, it sounds more fairy tale-like. But I'm also, I think, I'm known as someone who is able to say some hard things. So I'm going to say some hard things today, but hopefully in a nice way. We'll see if it works. By way of an art lesson, actually. I know there's a couple ladies over there who know who this is. Does anyone know who this is? This is a man who did not like to wear underwear. He does look a little bit like Josh Umber, but I can't call him on Josh's. That was Lee, blame Lee. This is one of my favorite people in the whole world. He died 99 years ago today. This is Gustav Klimt and his lifelong partner, Emily Flaugier. He had 14 children, none with her. This is a photograph in her family's gardens from 1911. Last year I was diagnosed with breast cancer. That sucked. It still sucks because it creates a whole bunch of existential disarray. I now have a fantastic physician. I had an oncologist who said probably a lot, and so I fired him. My new oncologist, when I said, okay, so 5, 10, 15 years, when am I in remission? You know, when do we just go, yay, we beat it? And she said, never. You're never in remission. You're a doctor. You know what this stuff does. It may come back, it may not. So that creates a lot of existential disarray when you're someone who left your career to start your own small business, you're 2.5 years in, and you're viewing what's going to happen in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden the universe shits on your head and says, well, maybe, there, I didn't even make it 6 minutes, and says, I curse all the time, and says, you may get 1 year, you may get 10, you may get 40, but what are you going to do with it? So because of that, I went to Vienna, which is where most of Klimt's major works are housed. This is a draft of a commissioned painting by Gustav Klimt. In 1897, he was commissioned to paint 3 ceiling panels for the University of Vienna: Philosophia, Jurisprudence, and Medicina. The reason I'm showing you the draft is because the final version, which is here, is gone. It was burnt in 1945 as the SS fled a castle in northern Austria and wanted to destroy all the assets in it. This is a photograph I took at the University of Vienna. This painting was completed in 1902 to incredible critic anger. People said it was lurid, pornographic, grotesque. There were 4 prominent physicians at the University of Vienna at the time who were very proud of all that they had done on behalf of prevention and cure. And they said that this painting did nothing to honor doctors or what we do in our role of prevention and cure. Some art historians interpret this, if you look at, I guess, what is your right side, that's the river of life, the river of humanity. And there's death and life and birth and intimacy and nakedness. And then off to the side is sort of this very virile-looking woman floating in space with a baby below her. And that's supposed to be life. And then in front is the daughter of the god of medicine. That's Hygeia. She's holding the cup of oblivion, and she's holding a single snake. And I just learned, did you know that caduceus is not a symbol of medicine? Who knew that? I just learned that. It's a symbol of Hermes. The symbol of medicine is a single snake. Anyway, thus the single snake. So I have this print on my wall, and she stares at me every day, and every night, and all the time. And we're going to talk about her a little bit more. So because of the critics, Gustav Klimt painted this next. This is the Goldfish painting. I'm thinking about having it tattooed on my back. Maybe she'd have like a DPC tramp stamp right there. That'd be pretty awesome. Anyway, I like Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt was a secessionist. He left the group of artists that were most highly regarded of his day because he didn't believe they were following sort of the true nature of what art should be. He and many other very famous Viennese artists around the turn of the century joined together and said art should be a more comprehensive endeavor. It should include architecture, crafts, music. I would argue that DPC is a little bit like secessionism. So, you've seen what I love, and now you see why I became a DPC doc. This is my car in the parking lot at the clinic where I used to work. What you don't see is to the right, far right, was my children's daycare. In 3 years' time, sharing the parking lot, I never took them in, and I never picked them up. I was first one in, last one out. I took an employed job because I was convinced that it would solve a lot of problems for my family and my personal life. That I wouldn't have to change light bulbs, I wouldn't have to fight for bacitracin, I'd have more time with my family. And it didn't pan out. I was trying to put doctoring in a box, and doctoring doesn't belong in a box. Many of you have seen this graph. I show it all the time. There are 1 million physicians in our country. There are 20 million people in the clinical healthcare workforce. Our income and our time and our efforts, I shouldn't say our income, the money we generate when we see people, when we write down a code, it brings in dollars, and those dollars have to support 20 people. The only way to bring in more dollars is to see more people and charge more. So it's fundamentally broken. And I would contend that the only way we change this graph is we must change the model. We must secede. Not succeed, secede. Medicine without us doesn't exist. So long as we stay in the box and continue to provide medicine and healthcare in the given construct, I don't believe anything's going to be different. 49% of physicians, this is from the most recent Merritt and Hawkins survey, something like 72,000 physicians. 49% of us are telling our kids, don't be a doctor. My 12-year-old said the other day, Mama, I'm not going to be a doctor because doctors never see their kids. 54% of us have negative morale. 72% of us, I don't understand this statistic. I think it should say like 110% of us say paperwork detracts from care. 80% of physicians feel overextended, say they have no capacity for further work, and 48% plan to change circumstance. Some of that does include concierge or DPC care. And more importantly, we lose 400 physicians a year to suicide. A very highly regarded pediatric physical medicine and rehab doctor in my community died last week. They're not being extremely explicit about why he passed away out of respect for the family, but they did include the suicide hotline on his sort of hospital-released obituary, saying if any of us wanted to come talk to them about burnout or how we were doing, or that we could call the 1-800 number. So our career, and I would contend many of us, if you don't have a green dot, or even if you do, we are at the intersection of should and must. This may be giving us a little bit too much credit, but I think we are all artists in a way. We were called to do something because we wanted to do something greater than ourselves, to contribute to a greater movement than us. And if we continue to create things the way someone else says we need to create it, we're doing a lot of shoulding. We're kind of shouldy. And I think the reason people feel terrible about being a physician right now is because of this intersection, this existential disarray. If you keep doing what you should, you are not doing what you must. So you must remember why you started. And I guarantee you, none of us were called into this to understand what HCPCS or MACRA or ICD-10 or ICD-9 or the ZOO.00 is a wellness code. It's a bunch of BS. And that's not what humanity needs. It's not what we need. This is Lila Denmark. She died at the age of 114. She was a pediatrician for 73 years in Alpharetta, Georgia. She said when she was 109 that if she had her life to live all over again, she would do it the same way. She said at the age of 104 that she hadn't had sugar in 70 years and declined her birthday cake. Maybe there's something to it. Okay, 73 years. How many people have 73 years in them of this? So, What you need, your stethoscope and a vision. An iPhone is helpful. I'd encourage you to have a state license. That's important too. Notably, you can serve people without a state license, just don't call yourself a doctor. Yeah. And we are among the top 1% of educated people in this world. So, this is my difficult message, and I apologize to the individual who this specifically calls out. We're talking about a vision. We're talking about something great. We're talking about helping humanity with the skill set we have. Do not waste my time asking about a mop. What I mean, there's mentoring, there's lots of questions in this movement. This movement is huge. We need to think big. We need to not be asking questions about what kind of light bulb should I have? What should I name my practice? How much should I charge? These are very basic questions, and you are so capable and intelligent you can figure this out on your own through research and mentorship. I'm challenging all of us, those of us who are doing DPC and those of us who want to do DPC, to make the conversation big. I doubt Gustav Klimt asked his compatriots, what color orange should I use? Right? Okay, that's the mama part. So, Vienna, one of the remaining, and I have 9 minutes left, one of the remaining paintings of Gustav Klimt is called the Beethoven frieze. It's painted on plaster. It was not designed to last. It was designed, have you seen it? Oh, he's yesing. It was designed for, it was painted in 1902 for the secessionist movement. It was the 14th secessionist display. And it was the 75th anniversary of Beethoven's death. So Beethoven is also from Vienna. Everyone's from Vienna. Freud, Beethoven. And this is regarded as Klimt's magnum opus by many art historians. So this is actually a picture I took from this spring. So this is 112 feet long and 7 feet high. And you have to look up to see it. And what it is, on the left wall, and you can't see it, across the top are the genii, which are sort of like angels in search of something. And they continue all along the left wall, the center panel, and the right wall. And the first thing they come to is humanity on its knees, begging someone to go into battle for them. And the women above the knight symbolize hope. As you move forward from the knight is this huge panel of this big creature named Feeis, who was the youngest son of the god of the underworld. And his children were the Gorgons, the daughters on the left. Medusa was a Gorgon, but this symbolizes sickness, madness, death. The big overweight lady symbolizes wantonness, and that's wantonness, lust, and I don't know what the other one is. But these are all of the sins and the challenges to humanity. And as you continue to go along, the genii come along and they run into a woman with a lyre, and I didn't show her here. The lyre is a symbolism for music and the arts. And then you progress further, and this is the closing panel. And this panel is an ode to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Ode to Joy. And what Klimt is trying to say here is that the discovery of joy, companionship, love, and the arts is what saves humanity. This is the last 2 minutes of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Ode to Joy. It was one of the first choral symphonies where people sang while they played music. The first conduction of this was in 1824 in Vienna. Beethoven was deaf. Harvard did a study on joy. Harvard does studies on everything. I went to Harvard, I can rip on Harvard. And one of the leading psychologists behind this study said, what you hope to do when serving others is you hope to free them up in their lives so they will take more chances and live more before they die. What I would say with Klimt's painting of medicine is I have a different interpretation than what I've read some of the art scholars say. And I think what this woman is doing is standing in front of humanity, reminding us of what a tremendous privilege it is to be a participant in life and death and this sort of river of chaos. And we're designed for something so much greater than Hicks, Picks, and Macra and ICD-10. I said that once, but I'm going to say it again. And we need to start acting like it. We also need to stop being afraid of finding our own joy and cultivating our own passions, because that enriches us and sustains us. Patch Adams said, "You treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you, you'll win no matter what the outcome." It can be very scary stepping out on your own. It can be very scary starting to say no. But I think that's what we all need to do to restore our profession to what it should be. And that's all.